At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology.
My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmas, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's Focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Hey. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Yeah. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
And I am Anthony Sie, and a pleasant welcome to Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. I want to welcome all our viewers across the globe. This is Friday Night Debate, a program dedicated to debating serious national issues happening in our dear country, Liberia. I see the debaters are well seated. They are well suited for the serious topics that we have, and we will debate the issues, and the issues will be debated in the national interest of our dear country, Liberia. And so, if you are just joining us, a pleasant welcome to Friday Night Debate, and do us that favor by sharing the broadcast with somebody. And before I can get to the topics on the menu that we will debate fearlessly, let me welcome Focus on Liberia new progressive commentator, my good friend, Dr. Clarence R. Pearson. Dr. Pearson, it's good to see you. Welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Anthony. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. Look, there's no better place to be than to be discussing Liberia and its current issues. And so I want to say hi to our listeners out there, our viewers, wherever you are in the world. I want to say welcome and hi to Sis Alice. And it's a pleasure being on the platform with you this evening.
Thank you.
All right. Also seated, ready. The only lady for now in the room is Ali Wilson Mumba. She is a panelist here at Focus on Liberia. Welcome to Friday Night Debate. How you doing?
Thank you, Mr. C. It's a pleasure always being here. And hello to all our listeners and friends all over the world. We are here to talk about Liberia fearlessly.
And I like that. Fearlessly, we will discuss Liberia for the good of Liberia. And of course, folks, we can't now remind you enough. It's Friday Night Debate. If you are a Liberian citizen who loves debate, who benefits from national debate on a serious note, civilly but powerfully, this is what we do here at Focus on Liberia. And if you have me as your moderator, you will get nothing but the best and absolute best. What on the menu you might be so curious right now? Number one, Pastor Elijah, the Nigerian prelate, who criticized President Joseph Yamabwaka, and the government response. We will debate it, and we will debate it on a very serious note. On the menu also, we have, as our second topic for debate, the secrecy around the U.S. 19 million drugs busted at Rabat International Airport. We will debate that issue. Also, topic number 3 would be, we want to know or debate the places and sectors the current administration on someone would say Dr. Joseph Yamabwaka, is doing well or better. In what areas this government is doing well and better. We really want to know as well. And also, we can have a democracy where we don't have opposition. The opposition plays a very significant role in maintaining and sustaining our democracy in a very healthy way. And so we are asking the question, if you look at the scrutiny that this current opposition is providing, and you compare it with the opposition we had at the time the previous government was in power, will you say the current scrutiny from the opposition against the current administration is weak or strong? Or will you say it is completely near existent? Well, there's a gentleman called Adulai Kiatamba. He posted something that generated some debate or some argument, or some conversation. And I think what he said was well pointed. And I remember Kentama saying, look, if you look at what is obtaining right now, the opposition of today is not doing a better job. And he raised some issues that the opposition could really hold the government's feet to the fire. For example, the villa in Foya, the presidential villa, and the government now is sticking to a story that is an MRU project, even though we went back and forth on that, and many other things. So the stage is set for the debate. And if you are just joining us, we say welcome, and please share the broadcast with somebody. Dr. Pearson, the stage is set. And let's come to our first topic on the menu here. The Nigerian prelate, we know he has been criticizing African leaders from his pulpit. We can debate whether or not he's doing it fairly or unfairly, but that has been his thing over the years. And he came against our current administration, specifically mentioning our current president, that he's confused. The government is confused. Everything in the government is confused. And our government was like, wait a minute, is this prophecy? Is this man a pastor? The government felt that he was actually injecting himself in our domestic politics. So this is factual. I know you know this, but I know you couldn't believe it. Our government wrote a letter complaining the man of God to Nigeria. And it's serious, Dr. Pearson. And I read the communication. I said, wait, now, is this some kind of a joke or what? And so the question to set the stage here, Dr. Pearson, the government of Liberia filed a formal diplomatic complaint with Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs over a prophecy made by President Elijah Oyedele. What exactly did those prophecies say? And why does the government believe this rise to the level of a diplomatic matter? Dr. Pearson, let's debate the issue.
Thank you, Anthony. Look, I think it should be easy to state from the onset that religion and governance are two of the most fundamental things in the Bible. If you start to read from Genesis to Revelation, there are prophets and men of God who occasionally approach kings and queens and leaders. And another thing I would like to just highlight is that in equally so, when it comes to prophecy, the Bible is compounded with what we call good to year policy and not so pleasant to year policy, a prophecy. So you can get both of the two from a prophet, from a prelate, regarding your current governmental or political setting, if you want to take kings and queens to be part of politics. So I don't see that to be a strange thing. Also, what I don't understand here when you say precisely that the Liberian government report the prelate, how they call him again, Elijah. I think what I saw, there were two things that I saw highlighted. One, they said that he tried to bring some conflict and division amongst Liberians and spoke derogatorily about the presidency, calling the president confused. And because of that, the whole nation is confused. And then the second key thing I thought they lifted was the fact that they said that Jeremiah Kuhn and the president will get into a rivalry. And perhaps Jeremiah Kuhn will overthrow President Boycott. But then this is what I would say, right? On account of prophecy, men of God, over the cross, like across all religion, are very vocal. When you are from a Christian nation like Liberia and you hear they say a prophet prophesy something negative about the nation, I mean, it behooves you to just go to your religious council, whether it be the Liberian Council or churches, or it could be the Interreligious Council. And I ask them to intercede for the nation. I mean, it's as simple as that. All right. If you don't want to do that, President Boyka understands his relationship with Jeremiah Kuhn. Jeremiah Kuhn understands his relationship with President Boyka. It is not that they cut a speech or they are having some rivalry between them. So are they saying that the man is saying something that is actually happening between them? And so they acknowledging it, that there will be a problem between President Boyka and Vice President Kuhn, perhaps. I recall during the 2017, I think, campaign or before that, Jeremiah Kuhn had predicted that he will like to see President Boyka retire from politics by 2023. You know, he said it in an interview, and he said, matter of fact, President Boyka is declining because of his age, and he wouldn't want to see President Boyka in 2023 campaign if he ran in 2027 as presidential candidate. So yeah, those are bad blood. President Bouakai is also on record for being people believe he's very unforgiving. He's very vindictive. So, I mean, I would say in short, I don't think it amounts to any diplomatic, should amount to any diplomatic exchange with Nigeria. I think it matters with how we address issues of our internal affairs, with how other people view us. And like anyone else to say, we are a Christian nation. If the prophecy is false or the prophet is false, then I have no reason to worry, because the Bible said, touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm. And the Bible also said, if God bless me, no man can curse me. So I'm not afraid of anyone who's trying to intervene in my life with bad prophecy. Thank you, CA.
All right. Dr. Pearson, thank you there. Let's welcome Jimmy. Jimmy, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, good evening, my good people. I'm glad to be here.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let me come to you, Alice. So, men of God are prophesying all the time. I don't know if you remember, there is this pastor who been throwing koa, prophesying koa on ordinary Liberians. And our government did not step in to arrest the situation, to intervene in any shape or form. The man of God, he was using the pulpit, he was using his church, and releasing koa on Liberian citizens. Now, there is a prophecy against the president. It said that only when something appears to be against a president or any political actor or leader, is that when it matters? And the other part of my question is, after all, we believe in God. And we believe that, the man of God is a messenger of God. And so if he speaks, why can't they listen? You are muted there. Unmute. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Anthony. I listened to the man of God, quote unquote, and I think he went too far. Okay. I read the Bible many times, and I'm still reading the Bible. The prophets that used to exist those days, they would walk up to the king and tell the king exactly what he saw in their prophecy. How can he be in Nigeria in front of his audience, knowing that he's on camera, and try to prophesy on something that God told him about the president? The message is not for the public. So he should have come down to Liberia or sent for President Bouakai to discuss the message from God if he's serving God. He did not do that. He went before the cameras, before the whole world, to ridicule the country and the presidency. I don't agree with that. The only part that I didn't like the government doing is giving him some audience by writing the government of Nigeria. You find somebody to respond to him equally if you don't believe what he's saying. And then he went again and started going back and forth. Like he was in the attack mode. All the men of God deliver the message, whether the president is vexed, whether the king is vexed, they don't care. They just give their message and turn around. That's what the prophet did to King Solomon. That's what the prophet did to King David. They were not sitting over there, throwing hints, exchanging blows, or talking derogatively to the country and to the presidency. It wasn't personal. If he believed it was not his personal message, why is it he would try to attack the president and the whole nation? Why would you think Liberians are confused? So in my view, if he actually got a message from God, he would have come to President Bouakai to deliver his message respectfully. Because the problem is not between he and President Bouakai. The problem might be if there's any problem between God and Bouakai. All he's doing is he's the messenger. So instead of putting himself in between to get angry or try to depress everybody around him, that he saw negativity about Liberia, what happened to his country? Boko Haram is taking innocent women and children, slaughtering them every day. Where's the prophet from God?
Alice, he's a messenger of God. We are told he can only deliver a message that God sent him. If God didn't tell him about Boko Haram, you want him to talk about Boko Haram?
But that right on those steps. He should have seen that in his vision. But my problem is not because he had a vision or prophecy, but the way he delivered it. The way he went in front of the cameras to ridicule Liberia and ridicule our president or the president of Liberia.
So
I think it was a proper.
Yeah, Alex, you said in the days of old, a prophet will go before the king to deliver the message.
Yes.
Okay, those were the cameras that time. Now the war has advanced, so he can be before the camera and say something. Are you saying that even for us sitting here, we shouldn't say something because we're before the camera? We should go
no. Well, there's so many ways he can do it. He can come fly from Nigeria because I know he got a jet or something. He can fly from Nigeria and ask to see President Boakai. Well, I'm not saying nobody's going to be there or the cabinet will not be present. He can deliver the message. Or he can send for President Boakai to go to Nigeria and say, this is what God told me to tell you. You either repent or your nation is getting confused and you are confused. So we need to pray about it or seek audience with your God. But he was in a combat mode. When I saw the video, it said this pastor that God gave message to, he is fighting now on behalf of God, which is not proper. That's not how messenger is supposed to deliver message. If somebody gave me message and I take it to you and you're getting angry, it's not me. It's not my message. I'm just a messenger. So I'm going to turn around and leave.
Do you believe his message, and do you think he's a man of God?
Well, I cannot say for sure. Because the way when you are a man of God, you have to be patient. Okay? But he's angry. In the other video, he's upset that even President Boakai will write to the Nigerian government. What is his business?
All right.
So I don't want to say it because I believe in God, but if God actually gave him a message, then it should have proven to people that God actually gave him a message. He's not going to be upset. He's not going to go back and forth with the government of Liberia, whether they write to the Nigerian government or not.
All right.
Thank you. Can you give me 10 seconds?
10 seconds.
Yeah, since it's Friday night debate, let me just give a soft pushback, right? So, says Alice, there are multiple places in the Bible where prophets spoke to nations that they never went to. Like the prophets of old spoke a prophecy concerning Babylon. They spoke prophecy concerning Tyre. They spoke prophecy concerning Syria and many other nations that they never visited. Right. So I don't think they have to be present. You say in the mode, you say in the platform. Jesus had opportunity to give his own message on a boat where he felt being away from the group on the board, it gives them a better view, like a stage. So depends what was available to them at the time, don't you think?
Well, listen, that's not my point of argument. My point of argument is he had the opportunity to send for the president of Liberia or fly to Liberia to give the message. But to me, it was a publicity stunt. Degrading the country.
Alice, here's the thing. If you have somebody going to Liberia and you want to set a phone to your family member, will you not do that? Will you buy a $2,000 plane ticket to go to Liberia just to deliver a phone?
Well, that's why I gave you two scenarios. You can either go there or send for President Boakai because that's important message. So how long does it take? It doesn't take him anything to call on the phone and say, President Boakai, I need you to fly to Nigeria because I have a very troubling message for your nation and for yourself. He did not choose to do that. And that's not even the point. But why is he getting angry that the Liberian government wrote to the Nigerian government? What is his business?
Thank you. Let me come to Jimmy. Jimmy, Pastor Elijah has responded publicly after the government, wrote Nigeria to complain him to the Nigerian government, right? He doubled down on his prediction and declared that President Bouaka will now win a second term.
You see?
I mean, how should a sovereign government respond when a foreign religious figure makes repeated political declaration about its leadership? Is filing a complaint with Nigeria the right move, or does it give the prophecy more weight and visibility than it actually deserves, Jimmy?
Thank you for the question. You know, a healthy democracy must be able to distinguish between prophecy, political speech, or genuine threats to public order.
Okay.
Clergymen are like citizens have the right to express their views, offer moral guidance, and even make predictions and prophecies about political leaders. Okay, throughout history, I think Miss Alice was talking. Throughout history, religious figures have often spoken critically of those in power. It's been known that they practice stuff from on the pulpit. But when it comes to whether it was proper, if it was a peaceful expression, then it can be tolerated. But when it falls in the realm of encouraging violence, insurrection, or unlawful action, that's when it becomes a concern. So how the government should react all depends on how they consider the speech. For me, the speech was a predicament, and it also had it was opinionated. It had some condemnation in it, in that he said initially the people were confused and whatnot. But we have to remember that strong institutions don't respond just to praise. They have to be able to tolerate criticism, dissent, and uncomfortable predictions. So the way they behave, I think they elevated the matter. They brought him to prominence where nobody even knew what his name was. I think they overreacted to it. And by overreacting, and now they're in this back and forth. He was accused of drug trafficking by Minister Pia, and he too has responded to Minister Pia, claiming that he is not, capable of the job he's in. So it's a back and forth. Did we need to go down this rabbit hole? I think there were much more important things to address than some cleric who's, I would have just dismissed him as some senile old man who's making wild, talk from the pulpit. I wouldn't have given it any credence whatsoever, and I wouldn't have written the government either. The Nigerian government, they what they would do, suppress his freedom of speech, the things he said. I mean, unless you see somebody who is causing people to violence and to demonstrate and to go about destroying property and lives, that's when your concern would be. I wouldn't have elevated that guy's speech. He would be just another cleric making a whole lot of noise. I actually see he got an airplane. I said, he's making a lot of money. Is that what Jesus told him to do? So I would have dismissed him completely.
I think if Jesus were alive, he would fly a jet too, or he would get on a plane too.
Yeah.
If Jesus was alive, you would walk from America to go to Liberia to pray. I saw you shaking your head.
No, but he owns the plane. I understand. He's not, you know, these people get get wealthy. What this guy did, Kigali, what's it, Nikigami? He restricted religious worship in Rwanda simply because he doesn't want his people to be buffooned, would be bamboozled into giving them money and being fooled by some of these clerics.
Yeah.
They are gullible. Some people are gullible and they believe anything. I still say I wouldn't have given this guy any prominence whatsoever. And it was an overreaction. Now, I also don't understand the foreign ministry in this event. First of all, I'm not sure how it came to the everyday news. Who published this initially? But I think if anybody, the foreign ministry should have handled this in a way that didn't involve governments, because this man was not part of the government. This man was just another preacher from who pulpit. We don't even know these guys actually worship God or they're doing devil worship. What if this guy was a satanic worshiper and they're in a conflict with him? He wants you to go after him so he can bring you down. That's how Satan works in mysterious ways as well. So why bother with this guy? Yeah.
Thank you, Jermaine. Let's welcome our sustainable development coach here, my good friend, Pastor S.T. Salif. Long time no see, no talk. Welcome, on mute. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Anthony, and great to be back again with these wonderful people and meet my sister Alice for the first time, who was in Malba.
Okay.
I'm the guy that never told you about because they kicked me off the show and
All right.
But I'm back.
Yeah. So, Pastor Salif, let me come to you here. And there's the opposition angle to it, right? Opposition figures, especially members of CDC, have criticized the government response, urging the administration to focus on pressing national issues. And is this a valid criticism, or what does it say about the government political judgment here when this is how it chooses to deploy its diplomatic mission, and then the other aspect of it is that this man of God is a friend of former President George Weah. So some folks from the government are going to say, well, he's doing this thing, for his friend, former President Weah. He had prophesied that President Weah would win, and President Weah did not win. Then another piece I want to add to this here is that there's another man of God who visited Liberia recently, who was welcomed by the executive mansion. All right. President Bouaka received and interact. And my research showed that he has been speaking favorably of President Bouaka and his government, so he will welcome. Whereas this other man of God who, prophecy, speaking and preaching seems to be against, President Bouaka and also his friendship with President Bouaka. I think that's why it's sparkling this kind of reaction that we're getting from our president. So the simple question is, does it worth all the efforts and responses coming from our government, or the criticism from CDC and other opposition is rather, hey, focus on governance and leave this man alone?
I think it's disheartening, to see the Bouaka administration, his folks, the route they took, it shows some signs of immaturity. I think they would have handled this much better. Like Jimmy Eastman said, and that was my, take. I've been following that. We have been to ignore this political hike. Why give him any attention? Why pay him any mind? Why, raise his profile? I mean, why do that? Why go down that rabbit hole with him? This guy has nothing to lose. Those guys are hustlers. I lived in Nigeria 15 years. I pastored there among those guys. They're all hustlers. That's what they do. All they want is access. They want power and they want money. That's all they're doing. God didn't speak anything to him. And I'm surprised that any Liberian in this life will ever think that God spoke to that political wacko. God did not speak to him. The man is already compromised. He's a friend of Weah. He needs access to power. He wants Weah to come back to power so he can continue to receive the money he was receiving from Weah, to continue to receive the access he was receiving from Weah. That's why he wants him to come back to power. So the best thing to do is they set it up for 2029. Start to criticize this administration right now. It's a political hack job, and that the government chose to fall for that tells us that there are some immature people that are in the administration who could not see this a thousand miles away. I wouldn't have taken that posture. I would have told the government not to even answer him, and this thing will have died down. He's not the first person that has caused a precedent. He will not be the first person. This is a man who in Nigeria is failing as a state. Bola Tinubu can't even walk. He can't talk. Why can't he see any prophecy for Tinubu? Why can't he see any prophecy for all the nonsense and the mayhem and the destruction going on? Children being adopted, school teachers being adopted, the Hausa Fulanis murdering people all over the place. He can't see anything but it's Liberia prophecy he wants to see, and people want to give credence to that man. Another thing I would add, because I heard Dr. Pierre say, people trying to bring in the Bible and prophets from the Bible. Let anybody on this show and let anybody in Liberia or around the world show me one prophet in the Bible that was a friend of any of the kings. There's no prophet that were friends of the king. They came to do the job of God. They were not friends. They were not collecting money to prophesy. That's not what happened. And God never sent prophets to town just like that. When the prophet came to town, kings stood at attention. And when they spoke, they spoke. I was looking at the scripture. If you go to the scripture, in fact, God denounced these kind of people. He said, I didn't send them. He said they are lying. You can see that Jeremiah 23 from 21, he said, I did not send these prophets, yet they have run with their message. I did not speak to them, yet they have prophesied. But if they had stood in my counsel, they would have proclaimed my words to my people and would have turned them from their evil ways and from their evil deeds. So that's why God sent prophets to people. If you look at the Bible, no prophet came to town until Israel had deviated from the path of God. They had turned their backs on God. God always sent a prophet to bring the people back to God. These people are not bringing anybody back to God. That guy is just a political whack job and nut job. He's looking for money. He's looking for access to power. He felt that access to power in Liberia was through Weah. Weah must come back so he can continue that access. That's why he's doing what he's doing. But the government immaturity in giving credence to this kind of person is what is disheartening. To write to the Nigerians and do this, I will ignore him. There's so many prophets all around the world that have been insulting leaders all around the world. If all these leaders are giving attention to these people, what you think the world will be? This man is not. God did not speak anything to this guy. Nothing. He's compromised. His proximity to Weah message was compromised. So that's not how God did. But if God has spoken through him, you go back. I read the Old Testament, Jeremiah. But if you go to the New Testament, Jesus, when he sent his disciples out, he told them, any town, any village you enter that they did not receive your message, he said, dust your feet and let that dust serve as a witness and go. So when he is back and forth with the government, then he was not in it for the right reason. That's why producing the back and forth. If he really think he spoke the word of God, he should leave it. When Jonah went to Nineveh and speak the word of God, he didn't have to explain himself. If you spoke the word of God, you speak it and you turn your back and leave and let God do the work. But he's trying to promote himself, a self-promotion that he's doing, thinking, okay, when he does this thing, Bwaka will call him on the side and they can be friends and he can have power. That's not going to happen. So he's not a pastor. He might be a pastor to his group of people, but he's a false prophet. He is a complete false prophet. He's a political prophet. He's doing it for money. He's doing it for access. He's doing it for power. and nobody should give attention to that. I'm surprised that a whole nation will follow somebody that is a hustler. It's disheartening.
Thank you. My good friend Joseph Tower is here. Joe, is religion and religious leaders becoming much of a bigger problem for us? And if yes, is the problem persisting more because of us, the people, or our leaders?
Thank you. Hi to everyone and hi to our viewers. If we understand the history of religion, it's always been a problem. That's one of the greatest problems in Africa. It is not about God. It's about religion. It's different. Religion is a business. So that's just the reality. So everybody doing business. Remove money from religion and you will see most of the churches will vanish. It's a front. It really doesn't exist. It has nothing to do with worshiping God or praying. That's the reality. Because you have to go and look at the establishment of this present religion. Go and read the Nicene Conference. It's in 13 volumes. I've studied them and see how it was put together and see the reason behind it. It's a political movement. They took spirituality and then put it together solely for political and economic control. That is why the people who brought it to you don't practice it, because they know that they give you the fake stuff. If we want to know about spirituality, go back and study what the Africans were doing. The very foundation of those come from Africa. So but we go and pick up everything that everybody else brings us, because we've been told that nothing about us is good, that we should follow other people. And a lot of the problem that we're in, I'm not the first person that said it. You cannot use the manual of a smart TV to fly a plane. We are trying to manage ourselves and lead ourselves by using other people's manual. It would never work. Everybody else in the world understands this. If you understand game theory, you don't play somebody else's game, because the game is always rigged. That is why casinos open the door and they invite you to come in. The game is rigged. You get there, you're going to lose. You follow their form of religion, you will lose. It's rigged. On the form of government, which is the so-called democracy and the structure, guess what? You will lose. It's rigged. This is the reality. But look, so I just wanted to address that. But when it comes to this pastor, my brother Sally just said something here. Maybe other people said I really didn't listen to everybody. Yeah, but he's just saying the truth. Like, why is it that this government making so much big issue out of this? It's because they have no sense of direction. Not just this government, but just the government in Liberia, period. They have no real plan on where they're going to lead this country. So they're just waiting for anything else so that they can create distraction. What did this guy say? Let's just say, other than him being fake pastor and all of this stuff, we see that Liberia is failing. We see that the place is in chaos. We see the corruption all over the place. We say it here all the time and everywhere else. Why don't they get upset to order State Department when the U.S. issued their yearly statement? That order the same thing, that's what the U.S. always issue. But you see, it is the indoctrination. Anytime it comes to Africans or Liberians, we immediately become giants. We become all these powerful people I want to do this. But when it comes from the people that are in control of us, we shut up. The U.S. issue all kinds of damning stuff that is enough to disrupt the economy and the structure and the political system of any country of Liberia. Yearly. Not a single pin drop. In fact, we use it as a point of reference. So what is he saying that is different? Really? Let's get the prophecy out of the way. Let's take it with Nigeria. We know that Nigeria, and we know that Nigeria failed. We know that Nigeria's a failed state. Let's take that away. Let's just see just another African. And he
answer in 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, no, hold on. What is really wrong? Because I'm not trying to look at this stuff. I'm trying to look at everything that he said. I'm not talking about the part that God saying here, all this stuff about the country is failing. That what brought the war? It is the inequality, the lack of opportunity for the youth, and all this stuff that brought the war. He's telling the truth. If they continue this way, there is another crisis on the horizon. This is the reality. So running and writing letters and doing all this stuff is nonsense. These guys have no sense of direction, and they have no desire to fix anything. Because if they did, we don't want to read no World Bank stuff that World Bank said the economy is growing. What growth? If the economy is growing, we don't want to see some numbers written somewhere. We want to see it reflected in the lives of the people. It doesn't exist.
Thank you, Tao. And Dr. Pearson, this will be my final question on this topic. And I want every one of you to take a peek at it. And it's about criticism and the government handling of criticism. I spoke to Dr. Silvio Soma yesterday. He called me. And he's a writer and researcher, especially his emphasis on Liberian history. And he said, be critic of democracy. One thing he said that stuck with me that I'm trying to use as a premise for my question, he said, democracy is not good for us. It has turned us against each other.
Yep.
It has caused us to see our brothers as our enemies. I'm like, wow, what is he saying? And so, yes, my question, if you look at this government, I don't think they are so kind to criticism. Yeke Koloba, who the UP hailed when it was in opposition, releasing the harshest criticism to the then government when the UP was hailing him, did everything to take him out of power. The same can be said about Prophet Key. The Unity Party did business with him. He was on the stage with even President Bouaga. But when he turned the criticism against the government and some members of the government, he's in jail today. Florentine Kofa, just by being an opposition in the true sense of democracy, he doesn't have a job today. The speakership was taken away. So the argument is that, well, this is democracy. The lawmakers have the right to remove him, and so I'm saying what Dr. Soma is arguing as coming to light here. My simple question for all of you here is that: is this government resistant or not kind to criticism? Is there any evidence to that? Dr. Pearson?
Thank you, Anthony. Look, before I attempt that question, thank you for the question. Just want to make few clarity here. Pastor Salif, there are prophets who were friends of kings in the Old Testament, in the Bible. Like Nathan was a good friend of David and a trusted advisor to David. I'm not arguing. You can go and look it up. You made your own claims, and I'm making a counter claim to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And not only that, he was a friend of David and an advisor to David. He also ensured the ascendancy of Solomon when David was not strong enough to take the throne when his brother was trying to even overthrow him. All right. So Nathan played a very good role, a very strong role in David's life at a confident level. But I want to say to Tao, your disbelief in a faith or God or religion, seeing it as a white man plot against black men or whatever the case is, I think it's irrelevant to the conversation. And whether you are an atheist or you are an agnostic or whether you are a spiritualist, I would say focus on what you believe and forget about what other people believe. If you want to have a debate about whether religion is true or false, we can come another day and have that conversation. But I want to disabuse the minds of our viewers here that religion is just a white man sell to black men to distract us from whatever we want to. So let me come to the question you asked, Incident. Look, Unity Party is understood to be one of the strong propaganda machinery in Liberia. We all understand the majority of the propaganda that Unity Party pushed while seeking power were all unfounded and lies and misrepresentation of facts. And now that they have been they've been in the presidency for going to 3 years now, they cannot come to validate those claims that they made against the past administration that would have convinced us that what their claims were correct. Like the three boys that got killed that were linked to the funeral home, the Striker funeral home. They came back and told us there was no foul play. So the initial claim was dispelled. The issue of Jefferson Koje bringing arms into the country, responsible for Charlotte Musu's death. Now they are been in the empire going to almost 3 years. They made a weak representation at the Supreme Court in Madame Musu's card appeal, so that Madame Musu's card walked free because of a connection with Joseph Boyka, and Joseph Boyka appointed her to government. Up to now, there's no accountability for Charlotte Musu's death. And I can go on to name so many things. $19 billion got lost. There's no audit that was done under this administration to prove that was the case. $24 million was stolen. They pursue those cases. They have no proof to find it. They cannot even convict a Samuel 12 for claims that they have against him, and they're still finding ways to find other claims to put against them. Now, what am I saying? Am I saying all of these things are not issues that are linked to people who committed these crimes or these acts? It's possible. But when you use those things for propaganda and you get to power, obviously you know the power of propaganda. And if you understand the power of propaganda, you become very uneasy when other people try to use the same technique you use to get to power. So Unity Party is aware on different platforms. We have heard them come up, the propagandists come and say, we rely on George Weah, we rely on the government, and nobody came out to say anything. We overpower them in our lives. So obviously they know the power of lies. So I can understand when they are intolerant to any form of propaganda that they will see as propaganda, or any form of complaint that they will see as complaining against them that will make them unpopular with the people of Liberia, because they know it has a propensity to get them out of power. Having said that, is democracy bad for Africa? I say no. Regardless which form of government you run, if you get the wrong people in power, the wrong things will happen. And the United States, that has been famous for its global leadership, is now struggling under the presidency of Donald Trump. Not because democracy is a failed approach in America, a Republican form of democracy is a failed practice in America. No, but the person who is at the helm of power is abusing the loopholes that they think they found in the practice. Now, let me say this again. When we had kings, when we had chiefs, and you went to the villages and towns, you go back into war history, you will see how kings abused their servants, their slaves. They're there. So it is not void of shortage of bad leadership as well. It depends on who is in power. And I will stop there. I think we can make the best use of our democratic space if we have the right people in power, people that Mr. Salif, who is advocating, Pastor Salif, who is advocating for us electing the right people in power. If we can get behind people like Pastor Salif, who is on the platform, I can speak more to that, and ensure that Liberia have the right people in power, governance will play out, because that decision is about the people and for the people. That's what democracy is about, and I think it's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you made a good point there. I think that other debate is just an intellectual exercise, because it doesn't matter which model you're using in terms of national governance. If you have a bad leader, you will have bad results. And it's just what that is, you know. I'm not a fan of democracy. I'm not against it either. Whatever model you have for leadership, national leadership, if the actors are bad, it will give bad results, garbage in, garbage out. And I feel so strongly about that. And I think you made a good point, because even when our great-grandparents led our communities, our villages, there were some of them who abused power. Even if you look at democracy, right, all the elements of democracy was borrowed from us Africans, all right, and taken, and they own it. And so I don't see any difference there. But let me come to Alice. Alice, is the Unity Party handling criticism much better? My assessment is that the Unity Party is lucky I don't think the United Party is receiving as much criticism compared to the previous administration. But it seems to be they can't even take the very lukewarm, completely near non-existent of criticism that comes to it. What's your assessment?
Well, to some extent, I think you are right. Criticism is being taken very roughly. But what really surprises me is that the very people that they are holding accountable today, they were not held accountable yesterday. So, for example, Yeke Koluba. Yeke Koluba, in spite of saying things that were right, but most of the time was just insulting, especially when he came to President Weah, which I didn't really support. If you have a point to make the point and forget about insulting people, parents, or, the very people that are leaders. You can still make your point. Sit with Prophet Key. So if you, hang out with the devil will not change the tactics. The time you least expect, it's going to come up and do the same thing to embarrass you because that's your friend. And that's what's going on with Prophet Key now. But then the same person who used to be on the internet and dissect women, and everybody was clapping. I remember Judy Andy took him to court, and nothing came from out of that. That poor woman she was crying. Okay? But now...
Let me add something to what you said, right? When Judy Andy took him to court, it was the office of the president, through his legal advisor, Bushy Ben Kilter, who went to the court and killed the case.
Right. Because it was a woman. And this is why I can say that most of the time they have no respect for women. If that was a man, it would have been serious. But today he came hard on the very people that were encouraging him. He said he was supporting the government or the candidates or the people that are in power today. But now he did the same thing and it become a big problem for him. So we have to be honest across the board. If something is wrong, it is wrong regardless who they're doing it to. You have to speak up. So I think they cannot. They don't have.
Yeah, let's look at it. Let's look at it on the other side too, though. Like you mentioned, the language that Prophet Key and Yeke Koluba have used over the time, the inventives. All right, to the level of women and even mothers of leaders, they will go that far.
Mm-hmm.
Did you not think all along that they needed to be held accountable? So I think this government has shown something, right? Look, not because you identify with us politically, all right? So you think we can't hold you accountable on bad behavior. Don't you think the Black administration deserves credit here for holding the two guys accountable?
Well, they should have done that a long time. When they were even you remember when Barack was running and John McCain and they bad mouthed Barack and say he was not a citizen. John McCain came out and debunked that from his own supporter and say he's a foreign citizen. He was born here. He's an American. Well, you're never going to find that in Liberia. Once the person is supporting you, whatever thing they throw out there, whether it's false, whether it's insult, they are muted. So the Barker administration should have done that from the get-go, long time ago, when they were trying to unseat President Weah. If anybody were on the internet insulting President Weah and his mother, they should have come up with a statement and chastise the person. Then we know that you don't like those kind of behaviors.
That's a fair point. I remember Alexander Belinda Cummings, being an opposition leader himself, traveled to Grand Jita County with Yeke Koluba. And he was asked, and he made excuses for Yeke language. That he said, I will not use the language, but that's Yeke, and that's who he is. And I don't know if he at any time told Yeke off camera that, man, you cannot be doing this. But when I felt that when he had that opportunity to speak publicly about it, I mean, he should have said, "Look, what Yeke is doing is completely wrong. It's unacceptable."
Yeah.
He was with him, and so that is how our leaders continue to be bad examples, and then makes the opportunity of setting the record straight for their followers to follow. And you
Right.
made reference of John McCain setting the record straight against his own supporters, saying no, Obama is not an Arab. He's a
Yeah.
fine gentleman.
Yes.
So thank you for that, Jimmy. Let me come to you. Is the government of the day handling criticism better, or you think they're not taking it lightly? And what you think they fear something about criticism in the first place? You are muted, Jimmy.
You're muted.
Jimmy, you are muted.
You can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is it muted?
No,
No,
Jimmy, go
yeah.
ahead.
Okay, very good. Before I come to that, I just want to mention something. Just like I think Pearson touched it, but then he went somewhere else. The people part of every system are people. And if the people are doing the wrong things, no matter what the system is, you wouldn't get the desired results. Democracy, one of the cardinal things about democracy, it has to have accountability. You can't elect this man today and then he goes to Monrovia. We're in, let's say, Sastown. Then he goes to Monrovia and he doesn't consult us for his decisions. We hear that he's getting paid before he can even approve a budget. He's selling our votes. When he sells his votes, he's selling our votes, our confidence that we put in you. That is not how democracy is supposed to work. You're supposed to be representing the people's interests. So any decision you make, any vote you cast, should have the people's approval. So we are practicing the democracy the wrong way because we let those guys be unaccountable for the things they do once we elect them. They have to be very careful with how they handle the responsibility we give them. And there needs to be a way to immediately check them if they're not, to immediately either take them back or replace them or chastise them. But we need to keep these guys under the reins. You are working for the people. Soon as they go over there to become big shots, they're driving big cars. We're talking about it every day. We talk about $45,000 cars. Why are they doing that? And gas slips and everything. But they still doing it. The people are not accountable to the people. So this democracy we're practicing is not going to work this way. We studied the other day. We studied it was Botswana. Botswana don't let you do that. Before you make any decision, you have to consult the tribe. You have to consult the people, your community, and that way you keep the people accountable. So the way it's done, these guys are getting away with stuff that they shouldn't be getting away with, and we need to reel them in. Now, with this government, if a government consistently reacts defensively to criticism, dismissing dissenting voices, or treats critique as a political attack, it sends several signals. One signal that it is insecurity or lack of confidence. If they overreact to criticism, they show that they don't trust themselves, because once you do trust yourself, criticism only helps to sharpen you. It also shows a weak democratic culture. Democracy again depends on open debate, scrutiny, and like I mentioned, accountability. So when criticism is discouraged or attacked, it's not healthy for that. I want to give you another example. Just the other day we had a show here, and they would talk about the LEC power, and I made a comment that this is one of the biggest attempts to increase the power capacity in Liberia. This is a very bold move and a very encouraging. However, what has been also an issue is the distribution and transmission. In other words, getting the power to people. And right away, it looked as if I was critiquing the government. That was not a critique for the government. That was an observation from a professional. This is what you need to do next. When you go to the doctor, he tells you, yeah, okay, very good. You're taking your medicine, but you need to do exercise. That's not a critique. So we have to get off this thing that no matter what we say, it looks like an attack. It is not attack. And largely, if we encourage this, you develop what is called group think. Everybody thinking the same. That's not healthy. You need people to think out of the box. You need people to have a different view of stuff. But if you just make everybody think the same, y'all would make the same mistake, and nobody will try to correct each other. Not at all. So the most important question is whether the criticism is fair or unfair. Every government receives both. Shouldn't be surprised if you get criticized. But is it helpful criticism, or is it just accusations and stuff like that? I think one way to strengthen our democracy is to continue to have free expression and not treat people who point out something that's wrong like an attacker or an opponent. That's not the way it is. Sometimes you're telling people the truth. You want them to hear it, just as we do with our children. We tell them the truth, not because we attacking them. Or we have a way of looking at it, and it's not healthy. It's gonna encourage authoritarianism, where one person says and everybody listens.
Thank you, Jimmy. Pastor Sullivan, you think if it may not be this pastor, if any pastor were to prophesy or have prophesied that President Walker, will win the next election, in fact, his government will bring about development than any other government, and that he will even win a landslide victory. He's the best president Liberia has ever produced, and maybe having to be a Ghanaian. You think the government are going to send a letter to Ghana and say, hey, they are pastor here, he's talking in our politics here. You think it's going to happen?
No, I don't think so. I think.
And why you think that would not have happened?
It would not have happened because over the years, even back in Bible days, kings have been known of, trying to rebuff, prophecy. This is not new. Ahab did it when he was going to battle, invited the king of Judah, and they came and said, get a prophet to prophesy. And all the false prophets like this, false prophets from Nigeria, they were all prophesying, go, you will prosper. The king of Judah knew better. He said, no, is this the only prophet? These are the only prophet. He said, I still need to hear the word of God. They had to go send for a prophet that had been put in prison by Ahab because he said, this man doesn't speak anything good about me. So when they were bringing him out of prison, they said, listen, all the other prophets are speaking good about the king. You have to also speak good. He said, no, I will not do that. I will only speak what God told me. I'm not going to flatter the king. Kings love to be flattered. And this man went there and prophesied, and Ahab got vexed. He told the king of Judah, you see, I told you this man doesn't speak anything good about me. He said, you do not go for this war. You will not survive it. Oh, no. Put him in prison, give him bread of affliction, water of affliction. He said, okay, if you come back from this war alive, know that God didn't speak to me. And he died in that war, and his son, everybody, so prophets have been known right from Bible days, so they always rebuff these things. But I don't think that's what I want to do. Let me answer the question, but let me clarify. Dr. Pierce, he's my lender colleague, and I love the guy. But I think when it comes to theology, yes, we got to listen to the people that do that. David had two prophets that were his counselors. They were not his friends. Nathan and Gad. They were Gad. They were David's counselor. They were prophets. They were not David's friends. David had friends that the Bible named like Aruna when he went to offer. Nathan was not a friend of David. He was a prophet of God. And it's right there in the scripture. In fact, Nathan was a prominent prophet during the reigns of King David and King Solomon, known for his courage and faithfulness in delivering God's messages. His first appearance in 2 Kings. So when David committed a sin against Bathsheba and killed Uriah, it was Nathan that God sent. Nathan would not have had the courage as he was in bed, like this prophet and we are in bed, to have prophesied the doom for David. They were not friends. He was his counselor. And so many kings, like you go to Josiah, a young king who took over, as long as Jehoiada was the priest, he guarded him to do the right things all the time that this priest was alive. When the priest died, then he started doing the wrong thing. Those were not friends. It was Nathan and God were spiritual mentor to David. They were not friends in the definition of friends that you want the viewers to believe. So let's take that. But here is the thing. I did a course, and to your question, Anthony, when I was doing my bachelor in theology, I did a course on leadership, and they talked about if you went and took over a church, what style of leadership do you employ as you take over that church? The style of leadership you adopt, they told you, is based on the condition of the church you're taking over. If the church is already in crisis, everything not working, if advise you cannot start with democracy, because you will only deepen the divide. They are already divided. Everything is not working. You don't want to start with democracy, and that's how Liberia is. Our model of leadership is borrowed, is adapted. It was done. We took an American constitution, they copy and paste, and brought it on Africans. Constitution that the people have been practicing for years, and they developed. We brought it and dumped it right on Africans who did not have similar lifestyle, who did not have similar situation. So our constitution is our problem. We have to adapt the constitution that is suited for us. As a theologian, one thing you are taught in hermeneutics is how to contextualize. So the message I preach to a Liberian, I can't preach that same message to Ghanaians. I can't preach it the same way to Nigerians. I have to contextualize it to fit within their culture, within their setting. And that is a mistake so many preachers do. American preachers leave from America. They think the way they preach to Americans, that's how they can preach to Africans. You have to be able to contextualize so that you fit it within the people's own setting. So we do not have it. Our constitution was not contextualized to fit in our African culture. So we just did copy and paste from U.S. Constitution, and it has created a problem for us. So it's something that we have to fix. Another thing I will address is, and so that democracy thing, I also frown at it. I think it's a problem to Liberia. But another problem to Liberia's growth and sustainable development is religion. Religion is a problem. And this is just a test case for that. When we should be proposing solutions, how to build a sustainable economy, we are majoring on prophecy, because when law and order breaks down, when methodology breaks down, when the Supreme Court will not give due process to people, when all these things break down, then the only place humans are known to look is to religion. So everybody in Liberia, you don't need religion. You don't need Christianity. You don't need prophecy to build roads, to bring back pipe-borne water, to bring back efficient security, to bring back system that is working, electricity. You don't prophesy those things. You don't pray them into being. There are countries that are Muslim countries. There are countries that are Buddhist countries. They are doing better economically. So if it were Christianity, then Africa should be doing the best. We are doing the worst because we adopted this. I'm a Christian and I'm a proud Christian. But I think Christianity has destroyed us to some extent, to the extent that people can blatantly commit crime. And we go pray and say, oh, we just forgive. No, when people commit crime, they should pay the price for it. That is, you can. There are two things. There is justice, accountability, and there's compassion. We can have compassion on you, but that doesn't mean justice should not prevail. That's why Kigali, Paul Kagame, and Rwanda, they're doing far better than Liberia, even though our war was going on simultaneously. Those people did their truth and reconciliation. They did things, they brought their country back together. Look how Rwanda is thriving. Liberia, when we came to our turn, spent millions of dollars because certain political figures, what the conclusion was for the next 30 years, these people that directly contributed Ellen and Oko, they should not take part in Liberian politics. We squash that because we want to squeeze Ellen in. So we have a problem. We did not implement our truth and reconciliation. Somebody can hurt you and say, oh, just pray. No, why you have the court? Why you have the police? Somebody should be arrested. Somebody should not rape your daughter and you say, oh, no, let's just pray and let's just forgive. No, that's complete stupidity. But that's what Christianity has turned us into. So we have to understand that. Another thing I will talk about is what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Okay? You see, Ellen and Josh Weah compared to Joseph Boakai, those two administrations, they handle criticism properly than JMB. JMB administration is so thin-skinned. They can't handle criticism. It's like they could ditch it, but they can't take it. That I'm no fan of Weah. I don't think he should have been president. But the amount of insults Josh Weah's mother received from Prophet Key, from Yeke Kaluba, he didn't go after them. He didn't silence them as bad and foolish he was. He did not do that. JMB, the same people that cursed Weah and was Weah man, cursed people's mind and brought you to power, now you're putting them in prison. Now you're silencing them because you can't stand it. And that's immaturity. And that's a problem with the JMB administration. We need some grown-ups in the administration. When they won the election, people like me, I've been apolitical all my life. I volunteer. I say, I want this country. All hands got to be on deck. I want to come and help. No, they wanted to bring people that will embarrass them. Immature. It's just, political that were, behind them. So that's why you won. And then this is what you get. That if Nigeria, of all countries in West Africa, can school you on freedom of speech, you have problem. Nigeria that kill people like Ken Saro-Wiwa, that kill so many people, that does not give free speech, that does not even give due process. They are the ones schooling you that this prophet is a private citizen, is entitled to free speech. If that doesn't work in Liberia, it works in Nigeria. It means your administration is in a precarious position. And that is an embarrassment to us Liberians, So I think the style of administration, whether democracy, whatever we employ, we have to sit down and find out what works for our context, what would work within our setting. I think those are things that we need to look at.
Tao, you got a final word on this one?
Yeah. Thanks very much. Look, the Reverend, the pastor, just touch on what I just said here. The problem that we have as Africans is this. If you go look, what it is, no form of government was brought to another people by outsiders that is going to be good for you. Remember, these were the people that enslaved you, colonized you, put a system in place. Then they hand it to you and then they supervise it. And you actually believe that it was meant to work for you. No, it wasn't. It's a sin with religion. Go and look at history. Religion was never brought but for any good reason, or all brought by conquerors. That's the reality. So if you trying to start painting me like I'm something, I don't know, God, I'm atheist, and using all the European terms, because that is what you are familiar with. But go and study the history of the religion that you believe in. Go and read the Nicene Conference, with the split that led to the Gutenberg Bible, where the Protestant Reformation came from. Go and look at the struggle between the Pope and King James I, when he brought together the 40 men where they wrote the Anglican Bible. Then look at the struggle between them and the guys in America, where they formed their own. So don't tell me, go and look at the history of the thing that you believe in. It has nothing to do with God. People are putting things together and they're putting God's name in it. Look, Japanese, they have Japanese that are Buddhists. They have Indians, they have Chinese, they have all these people. Wherever you go, you will see that their God look like them. Even the Japanese, their Buddha look like them. The Chinese, their Buddha look like. Then we are Africans, our own God cannot look like us. And when we even pointed out, this is not, why can your God look like you? But it's written rather that you're created in the image of God. Look at that image and see if it resembles any of your uncles Or you can look at any of your brothers and say, look, you look like Jesus, or you look like Moses. Man, we have to be practical. The blind loyalty, we need to stop it. And they bring us to the democracy. Y'all want to act like America has something like democracy. America does not. It is stated clearly in the Constitution. This is a republic. One will rule and the others will be ruled. That's the definition of a republic. And when they even try to fake it, Liberia have more democracy than the US. Because it's not one man, one vote. Your vote is not counted. They create a crooked duty in the background called electoral college. So you'll find out that the people overwhelmingly choose one person, but they'll go and do a crooked duty and say the electoral college, the person won the electoral college. It is rigged. You have media, 6 families own all the media in the US. Few families own all the corporation. These same guys get together. You're talking about no opposition. Why are they practicing exactly what America gave us? That's democracy. The Western. Let me clarify this first. General consensus, okay, which is leading by general consensus, that democracy is existing in Africa and it exists everywhere. We are talking about the Western form of democracy with us institutions that is corrupt and everything that electoral politics has given to us. We have to squash that. We have to look at that. We have to deconstruct that. That is the point that we are making. We're not saying you should just put one guy there that he's making everything. No. You can get everybody involved, but you don't have to follow. Look at everybody that is succeeding and actually rising. See if they practice in the same demo. They brought it to the Chinese, they rejected it. Everywhere else that they brought it, where it was rejected, not taken in its raw form, guess what? Those people are progressing. Have you heard about McCarthyism? When the people try to rise up to have other parties or other competing interests, they squashed all of them and they left a one-party state with 2 names, Democrats and Republicans. It's just the same party. Because if the same family fund both sides and they give you airtime when they want you and they choose, what they're doing, they're presenting their candidates before the people that they approve. That is what America is. And even at that, it's a very weak and corrupt system. It only pretended for it to work when they did not have competition. That is the only time democracy can pretend to work, the form that they give you. The moment competition show up in China, you see them crumbling because it's too porous, it's too corrupt. And so we need to look at that. You're talking about corruption in Liberia and you want to accuse people. No, it's at the democratic process. When Pastor Salif is running and I bring money and I start to fund him, the corruption starts at that point. Why am I funding him? Because he promised me something. What is he promising me? The nation resources. I am saying we have to find a way to address those. Remove money from out of it. And
Thank you.
Set up a structure where people still get involved and people have general consensus, but let it now operate in this way. It doesn't work.
Thank you, Tao.
It doesn't work.
Thank you, Tao. Thank you, Tao. And folks, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia, and we are having Friday night debate that will take us to our next topic, which is what others are describing as the secrecy around the U.S. $19 million drugs bust, or that were busted at the Rabat International Airport. On June 8, 2026, the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency seized 198 compressed plates of cocaine worth an estimated 19.2 million United States dollars at the Rabat International Airport. So those 6 persons were actually arrested as being the suspects who were trying to ship the huge quantity of cocaine outside of Liberia, and according to some report to Canada, and they were using Brussels to get it out of the international airport. And 6 persons have been arrested, and these 6 persons' names have now been disclosed to the Liberian public. The debate here is that for each time the very LDEA arrests a suspect either in possession of marijuana, they will take your picture and whatever amount of cocaine that one might have been in possession of, they will do a documentation and put it on you and take a picture, and it will be on social media. One of such person who complained about that is a Liberian musician called Bucky Ray. Bucky Ray was in possession of $40 US worth of marijuana. According to him, he was arrested for that. He was humiliated. He was thrown in a pickup. And according to him, he was made to take a picture. And we all saw that picture on social media. He wrote and said, but what is going on here? When I was arrested, my picture was taken. In no time, my name and pictures were flying on social media. That has been the same with Liberian women caught in possession of marijuana and other narcotics in Liberia. But some law enforcement professionals are saying, well, this is a big one. And so maybe they don't want to release these names so that maybe other people connected to this scheme might not escape. Some people are not buying it. If you arrest 6 persons, you can release their names. If others are connected, you can pursue them. And other people feel that this is not fair. So that is the debate. And let's start with you, Alex. Bucky Ray and other Liberians will feel that withholding the names of these 6 suspects who we are in police custody is not fair to those who have been arrested and pictures been released. Do you agree or not?
100%, I agree. That's unfair. And I don't even know how to tell it. You have to be fair in everything you do. If you are honest, you have to be honest at all times. I have seen videos on Facebook where women were arrested with drugs. They were taken to the police station. They were detained, and the LDEA kept explaining what it did. They had the drugs before they took their pictures. There was this other a person from Guinea that had drugs, tramadol, and she presented like she was pregnant with it. She had the drugs on her, and on camera they took everything out and put everything on the table and took a picture. So why are they hiding now? And this is not the first time. The last time there was some, I think, helicopter that came from Liberia or went to Sierra Leone, it was going to Mexico. Something about that helicopter. It had drugs as well. All the information were out there. So why are they keeping the names of those who are caught with the narcotics? You can't say because the person is, too big to be named, or the person is connected to somebody. Everything has to be put out there. Because this is the problem. You have majority of the Liberian kids dying every day. Do you think women just want to give birth and have their children perish? That's ridiculous. It is so hard to raise children, not to even take kids for 9 months. And somebody have their boy children or girls children. And then because of drugs, they are in the street behaving as zombies. And some higher ups will be behind drugs and you don't want to expose them. That is unfair. And that is criminal as well. So they need to release the names of all those who are involved so that we know them. So the Liberian people will know who are those people that want to finish up Liberian children. What happened to the future generation?
And Dr. Pearson, are you concerned? The law enforcement community, or the law enforcement officials, or the state in particular is saying, look, we're trying to do due diligence to this case because this one is big. And to their credit, they have arrested the individuals. They see possession of the quantity of cocaine. The only thing they have done is to release their names. Is it not fair to give them time to investigate further? What difference will it make if they release the individual's name now? Where do you stand on this debate?
Thank you, Anthony. So I think it's fair enough to say that the OIC Fitzgerald Bowdor mentioned clearly that they're trying to protect the integrity and confidentiality of the investigation, which is in criminal justice justifiable for a number of reasons. One, you wouldn't want the kingpins or those who are the higher ups in the cartel to know who are in custody, wherein they can end them. And I think you know what I mean, because we want public of media. They would have end them. They would possibly end them, or cut all ties that may link them back to the higher ups. Maybe destroy any form of evidence that could generate a lead to themselves. So what
I'm just saying, before you continue, these well-connected people that might be behind or connected, right? In any case, they might have heard about their confiscation, right? So that's what I'm going to they will do it anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm going on. But what makes it different for Liberia is that we are a close-knit country. You know, we are much more smaller dynamics to that play. Because if you look at the US, you got about 300 million plus people, and you call one man in a network that is spanning hugely across the country, is difficult to just pin. But with Liberia, once you say you got that quantity of drug leaving the country and you pin it to RIA, everybody will know exactly in the high ups who they pin, because that network will be very small in Liberia in terms of who they entrusting to move stuff. Because you know the bigger the group, the more vulnerable for them getting busted. The smaller the group, the more they can hide. But that's not my worry, Anthony. I think my worry here is that now when United partisans criticize and the propagandists criticize the CDC government, the criticism was based on the fact that they felt that the presidency was at the high up that would be promoting drugs in the country to give the conduit or to give the access for $100,000 plus of drug, or I know how many quantity of drug they were catching every now and then. So they pin it to the presidency, right? Now, we're not just talking about drug trying to enter the country. For me, entering is a little easier because you have a lot of porous borders. I can bypass the border to Ganta and walk in the bushes and come in Morocco with my passos. I can bypass the border in Lofa and walk in the bushes and come to town with my passos. I can bypass the border within Cape Mount area then walk from Sierra Leone and walk in the bushes and come into Cape Mount. You know, but this case, for me, that's worrying me, Anthony. The items are coming from within Liberia. That is worrying to me. And not only that, it's coming from within Liberia, it is coming at a volume that is scary. You're talking about over 200 kilograms, over 200 kilograms of cocaine. And cocaine is not the kind of drugs that our children are abusing in Liberia there. Our children don't have the kind of money to abuse cocaine. Cocaine are the class of drugs that you have to have good amount of cash to sustain your habit in using cocaine, unless you probably will dilute it or you will, you mix it with something else and give a minimum grade of it. Of course, people will not go after because it won't be potent enough. So that's why it is leaving the country to go to a more lucrative market that it sells at the quality and value that they have. Why is it coming from Liberia? Anthony, that's where I'm worried. And the next thing that worries me is that why is it being boldly taken to the RIA, where we got immigration, where we got DEA, where we got AFL, where we got LNP. We have all of the major forces of joint security apparatus, stationed at the RIA. Who is that bold? Who's bold enough to do that? And take it one step further. Not only that it's at RIA, I will see if they want to put it on Westwa. I will see if they want to put it on small island of Ascot. Right? but you want to put it on Brussels airline. Brussels airline. It is going to Europe, where there are sophisticated means of identifying transportation and smuggling of drugs. At this time, why Liberia? So are we seeing?
Do you fear a bigger connection or bigger hands beyond this kind of shipment?
In my big hand, my worry about the big hand, Anthony, is not the hands that are outside Liberia that I'm worried about. It's the analogy of the Unity Party that said that it takes the office of the presidency to push drugs in Liberia. And now I'm seeing drugs not coming in Liberia, but trying to leave Liberia at the only major airport authority in Liberia, the Arabas International Airport, where all of our joint security is present. And not only that, but to want to put it as a cargo on Brussels Airlines to go to Europe. Now, the question I want to leave with the Liberian people tonight, who following, if they have that much cocaine in Liberia, how much more is in Liberia? And if they can process it through a shipping company in Liberia, and the shipping company is brave enough to carry through all of the ranks and protocol for registering a cargo in Liberia, where commerce will be involved, where LRA will be involved, where Ministry of Finance is involved, where all the top government officials are involved in the processing of that entire activity. How is it that it sat at that airport and was making its way in time to get on Brussels Airlines? Anthony, I'm worried because I know I'm a frequent flyer. I know from now on, every time I get on Brussels Airlines, my check-in bag will be open. Every time I'm leaving Liberia, my check-in bags will be open. Because they have made us in the diaspora vulnerable. Very vulnerable. And I'm very scared for Liberia right now. I will stop there for now.
Thank you. And Jimmy, so 6 suspects are in custody. The LDA has refused to disclose their identities, citing an ongoing investigation. And again, it's fair to point out, but in smaller cases, suspects have been publicly named and photographed almost immediately. Why are the identities of the suspect in a $19.2 million case being protected when ordinary people accuse? Some of these people are just abusers of the very substance. They are paraded publicly. Simple question. What justifies this different treatment, Jimmy?
Well, Anthony, you know, the reason why Dr. Pearson is alarmed, because, you know, drug trafficking at this scale, we're talking about 19 million. Who you know, what Liberian you know, can afford to move $19 million of goods through the system? It definitely has some huge players in it. But here's the frightful part about it. Whatever it is, this much money. You remember the last bus that were tipped off by the American government and they busted it? What happened? Those people went free. This kind of money, this amount is way too, for our system, that is, you know very well, our system is vulnerable. Bribing is rampant, I mean, throughout the system. This kind of money, no, Liberians cannot handle this kind of the amount of bust. It can't. It's going to fold. And the body, from everybody down, you will give you one. They say, "But man, we owe $1 million." What you do? You will let it go. So this is too much. So this is just one we caught. Our country is being used as a transit point. This is, you know, for drugs. It's obvious. Just what Dr. Pearson alluded to. That kind of drug is too sophisticated for our regular folks. The average drug abuser can't. He's smoking kush or something, not cocaine, which is a high class recreational drug that they use in America and Europe. So nothing can come out of this good. It is way too much money. The people are already, you already see how powerful they are. The people don't even want to expose them. And even if it goes to trial, Anthony, we don't see convictions. You know, I'm telling you, for some reason or not, I think we're only playing nationhood, but we're not really a nation because we can't.
Jimmy, it will be fair to suspect that they may not be the first shipment out of Liberia.
Exactly. No, I would strongly say it's not. This is just was exposed. Maybe something I've from some insider information says somebody was not being treated fairly, and they're the one who blew the whistle. That's how come we know. But you can imagine the kinds of stuff that's going on in Liberia. I mean, where were these drugs? $19 million. Where were they being kept? How did they get in the country? Yeah, so it's a big deal, and we don't hold our law enforcement to accountability.
Jimmy, could they put our country image at risk? Because Pastor Clarence is right, Dr. Pearson is right. This is leaving Liberia as a cargo shipment on a commercial plane. This is well coordinated and organized, presumably by higher ups. No ordinary criminal going to ship a cargo of cocaine through a commercial jet out of the airport. I don't know if many of you know, that's my profession. I work at an airport. I work for an airline.
Yeah.
Anything that enters the airport perimeter is screened by multiple security layers.
Exactly.
And so if this is being done at this scale, one might think that this cannot possibly be the first time. And if this is not the first time, how long has it been happening? Do we know?
Yeah, we this sort of thing risk the country being known as a drug place. I think we risked that the last time. But we're very, very poor, Anthony. You can bribe somebody for little or nothing in Liberia. We're a very, very poor country. So this sort of thing we expected. But if you want to stop this thing, if we want to prevent this thing, then we have to have our law enforcement accountable. There's no transparency. I think Representative Briggs, she asked for the LDA for the plenary to summon the LDA because what is all this secret for? But let's see how far it goes. We don't have the spine. We repeat this. We are not enforceful. We if we believe in something, we have to stand for it. But if we keep on bending, if we keep on wavering, we'll just be a weak country. Now let's see what happens when
how much time do they need? This thing happened on the 8th. This is the 12th. That's 4 days. How much time do they need?
They have enough time. They've had enough time to make arrests. They have had enough time to look at a trail. But here it is. Our people, the legislature, is supposed to have these people accountable. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we will get any revelation.
Thank you, Jimmy. And Brother Tao, is there any danger in releasing the identity of these 6 individuals? Because keeping the identity hidden is causing more harm in my judgment. And now there's mounting quest. I mean, it has gotten to the level of the House of Representatives. The people representatives are demanding answers and they can't get the answers.
Okay. So I will point out something that my sister Alice said. What we are not considering that the youth in the country, which is supposed to be the next leadership, they are being wiped out pretty much. And that for me is more critical than anything else. But before we even discuss this, we have to look at something. How uh, how did the drugs, and stuff start really entering Liberia? When did this process speed up? We know that drug is something that always exists here and there, but we're talking about the kind and the frequency and the quantity. When? Because we went through during before the war, whether on October or though, it barely existed. People just did a little marijuana and stuff, and little, maybe, well, when I was little, they used to call it 1010. We used to hear it. And then we went through the war, where the boroughs were very porous, right? Where there was complete breakdown. And we never had drug problem, whether it was on a Sawyer or on a Bowman or all these people, and even on a Taylor. We didn't have that. Until Ellen came to power. Because I'm trying to put this into context, and I will come back and tie in. When Ellen came in, the Americans decided that Liberia was at risk. So the DEA needed to come there, train people, and set it up. We didn't have the problem. They came. We had the problem. There was no terrorists in the Sahel and in Nigeria, where in 2001 and 2002, they said that place was at risk. They came, terrorists show up. Drugs on those quantities are moved by governments and agencies and people. We know the CIA is number one. This one is on record. How did drugs enter the black neighborhood in this country? They moved it from Colombia to Panama to Nigeria in the 90s, in the 80s, and in the early 90s. When you heard about Bamagida and I was trained at the School of the Americas here at Fort Benning, I've been to that base where the training, they brought him back over through Buhari, put him there, the Iranian contract and the Nicaraguan contract, where they moved the drugs from Colombia to Panama through Noriega, they moved it to Nigeria, and that is when was small Nigerians were known for moving drugs. And they were moving it. So the moment they show up to help you on something that never existed, it is there. I'm making the points to say that anytime these people show up, they're never shown up where it was helpful to us. It's not just the Americans. It could be the Chinese. It could be the Russians. It could be the Arabs. But we Africans need to learn this. Nyerere put this clearly before he died. He said, Africa south of the Sahara, we are on our own. We lack the ability to develop independent mind. We think that every time somebody else show up, we worship them. They show up, drugs show up. And what happened? When the big one, I don't know, we had to say 100 million when it got busted. They were informed. I strongly want to believe that was their operation. Because what happened? America is arresting people and transporting them for having drugs in areas that they feel threatened them. But what happened to those guys? They walked. What did the US say? Nothing. Where's the drug? It disappeared. We didn't see it. I'm saying this to say, even your own government, drugs don't just move. This is bigger than oil and gun. So when you see them, there is a strategy that they're using transporting that they use in transporting drugs or moving drugs. They will go ahead and put about 3 or 4 shipments. Because they know that it will get searched, they will bust the smallest shipment to create the condition that something is working. While the major shipment go through. You think we're just going to Brussels and you think they didn't know that they have all of this stuff that there are people waiting on it in Brussels. It was never going to get busted in Brussels. And what you actually see might just be a front to think that something is working in Liberia. While major quantities are moving, like Dr. Pessin said earlier, such drugs is not coming by foot through Guinea or through the Sierra Leone border. I strongly believe that it can have to be brought in something that can bring large volume, like maybe a ship. So how did they leave the port for it to end up at the airport? So this is what we are looking at here. So we have to look at the bigger picture, because the Americans are there. If you go look, they take how much money they put into fighting drugs. So Liberia is a very small area. What are the real port of entry? I told somebody when we had this discussion how they should start stopping out people that are doing little willow market between Guinea and Africa, go and be beating them up. And I say, you think the drugs that are actually coming is not where it is? No, it is two areas: the airport and the free port. That is the area the actual drugs are moving. And that is the area they need to target. But like Anthony, like you raised, I want to believe, strongly believe that Liberia is a major transit point where they are moving huge volume. And they're strong hands in it. Boaka them were told you better keep quiet. I strongly want to believe so, because it don't make any sense. They say they don't want for the people to hear, but you already made an announcement that you busted people at the airport. You could have kept that secret. And then it could have just been rumor and you deny it. Why you saying you're doing your investigation, right? But you made an announcement, you put it on Facebook, you took the picture, you didn't show nobody. Just like Honor Opon, when they found the so-called $100 million drug, they made little noise and somebody told them to keep quiet. And they were quiet and we didn't hear anything about it again. So that's what we have here. So if we really want to look at the drug stuff, we have to look at it deeper. Yeah, like my sister said here, they will be getting Bucket Raw and other people and they'll put them on the street because that's the pretense that something is working. It's the same thing in this country. It's the same thing in this country. When they move huge volumes of drug for them to buy a gun, to go overthrow Ortega in Nicaragua, or to go and then buy a gun to give it to Saddam so that he can invade Iran, and all it's the same thing. So drug is a major area. It's a major stuff moved by government, by states. And Liberia is just caught in it. And we are not people that even have the ability for us to even think, for us to question something, and to rest on this. The reason that you will see Boaka and keep quiet. Somebody was saying here that they already decided that they're going to implement the health bill. And if you look at what they have there, that they want for them to be plugged. American tech companies and bio companies will be sitting here, plugged directly into every clinic in Liberia, drawing data in real time. And if you look at the clause that if Liberia failed to do that, to provide the raw data in real time, they will penalize them, they will cut this, you can see it. And when we point it out, somebody said, but we need to get tier 1. When we discuss it at length on the chat room, and somebody said we need to get tier 1 so that he can try to sue them. And I told them he's not going to have interest in that, because everybody's scared when they come to America, because that is the interest that he's standing in front of. So these are the things that are harming us, whether it's the Chinese, whether it's anybody else from outside. The moment we are not able to operate on our own for us to think and look out for the actual interests of the country. Nobody in Liberia bringing that kind of drugs. Nobody in Liberia, that drug is brought in, is being coordinated from outside. And I want to believe the few people in there know something about it and they're benefiting from it. And that is the problem. But they will go ahead and Kroma, how they call it, LDA guy, that he made an announcement last week that there is no more ghetto in Liberia, that the drug stuff have been dismantled and all kinds of stuff like that. Drug issue generally is a social issue. If you don't create conditions for the kids to have future, for the citizens to have hope, for them to be able to have social mobility, and they become idle, they're going to get involved in stuff. So in order for you to solve that problem, you have to create an environment where people have hope, where they are engaged, where they have something to do, where they are progressing. And if those things are met, what happened? You can't, those things can be absent and you clean that, arrest a couple of people or beat them up from ghettos, and then you solve the drug problem. It's a lie. You're going to push them further into neighborhoods that were never at risk.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, as this will be your turn. Unmute.
I don't want us to overflow this matter. The delay in revealing the people, that the 6 people, is not just investigative strategy. I think it's cover up. That's what they're doing. We used to this. We've been seeing it over and over. When ordinary people do something, they will just quickly go and review. They don't say, okay, let's investigate and see. No, but once they know the kind of people behind it, Liberia is not a big country to say, hey, we want to get to the kingpin. We want to get to the big fish. So it's not a big country. Where how how many miles you have to travel to get to somebody. That's the first thing. So yes, as I'm a security professional, I understand that under this kind of investigation, you want to conceal certain things for a certain period, but 4 days is more than time. You've given them time to even escape. The 4 days they have already elapsed. They are already tipped off those people, and those people that could be responsible are already out of the country through other border points. That's the first thing I want to add. The second thing is it's not going to go anywhere. And somebody, oh, why would you say that? Because we saw that it's been happening. This is not the first time. We had the 100 million people made all the noise. Was there anybody arrested? Was anybody penalized? Nothing happened to anybody. So we'll make noise, the dust will settle, everything dies down with business as usual. The third thing I want to say is cocaine are not being produced in Liberia. They are not. That means Liberia is a transit point. That drugs came from another country and it's just transiting through Liberia. The audacity, the sheer audacity, the brazenness, to put it on Brussels to take it, it means it's something they've been doing. What happened this time that this got exposed is what we need to investigate, to do that. Like Dr. Pearson was trying to say, oh, maybe accept some adulterated drugs for people to use. Drug cocaine is something heavy money, but look at the destination. It was Canada bound. So it could not have been adulterated. It's the real thing that they were taken to the West. So for that amount of money, there are people that are involved with it, and the government needs to be transparent. The Liberia, and I keep saying it, and people think, Liberia problem is not a resource problem. Liberia problem is not a personnel problem. Liberia problem is not maybe be just behavioral. Liberia problem is leadership. We have a massive leadership deficit in Liberia. Liberia, of all the other nations in the community of nations, we have not been blessed with leaders. And the reason still comes back to us, the ordinary people, because if a real person stood up and said, listen, I can come and clean up this mess, the people will be the first to dismiss you. They love their crooks. They love the criminals. They love these guys that use them and do nothing for them. They will jump in the street, wear their t-shirt, they will shout. You who comes and listen, I think I can do better. Oh, move from here. Who are you? What do you know? Oh, in fact, they got all these things to say. We love the criminals. So that culture of impunity has become entrenched in our national life. That whenever impunity becomes entrenched, we celebrate the criminals and punish, ordinary people. And that's what's happening. So Bucket or other people, any little person can do something they were supposed to right there and then. And this corruption is not only in government. I'm a pastor. It starts right in the church. Go to the church, let ordinary little girl in the choir boy, let them have fun, something happen. The pastor announcing the straight from the altar, from today, you're suspended. Let the deacon in that same church that contributing all the money to that church, let him do the same thing. Oh, the church board will look into it. It's the same thing the government is doing. We're not serious with leadership in that country. We're not serious with punishing crimes in that country. And that's why these things keep happening. And Joseph Boakai, to that extent, he's a failure because the people elected you on the backs of Weah's failure. It's like everything that happened in Weah's government that people criticize are happening in Joseph Boakai administration. And when you think the approach will be different, it's just the same. We have the 100 million, now Boakai 1.9 million, 19 point something million. And 4 days gone, there's no investigation. I can tell you we'll do another show 3 months after. And this thing's not going to go anywhere because it's not about investigation, it's cover up. That's why they're not releasing those names. They're trying to cover up this thing.
Thank you. Well, we have to close, but we can do that without the remaining 2 topics yet, and you will be closing. So places or sector the current government is doing better. And then the opposition scrutiny. All right, and let me explain this part. During the Weah's time, I want to believe that we had a strong voice, or there were strong voices from the opposition. I mean, CDC did not even take seat. We were on their back. They couldn't sleep. We didn't give them rest. We stressed them. And this government is like enjoying a honeymoon. We don't have an organized opposition right now that is holding the government accountable. There's not even a coalition yet. They can't even collaborate on something as basic as holding the government accountable. And also, this government, where are the places, it's doing well? This government, I don't think they're doing everything bad. I don't think they're doing everything poorly. There might be places, there might be something they're doing that they must be given credit for. So, simple to close. What is that thing? What is that sector? What is that place the government is doing well? And how do you evaluate the opposition holding the government accountable? Is it better? Is it weak? It does not exist at all? Let's start with Jimmy on this one. He's the diplomat.
You muted again, Chief.
Yeah, I want to mute so that I don't disturb the speaker. Okay, so there, yeah, like you said, there are some things that we can say this administration is doing well with. Okay, I mean, I wanted to say anti-corruption asset declaration enforcement. At least we see signs of it, but we don't see convictions, and that's where they're lacking. The other thing I noticed they're doing pretty well is international diplomacy. Okay, we right now we're on the Security Council, and it appears that we're making some notable achievements in that direction. Our diplomacy has strengthened in this current administration. The other area where I mentioned briefly, we're growing. We're trying to infrastructure and energy expansion. We're trying to build our capacity, and they're doing that bit by bit with the 20 megawatt solar plant, the plans for 150 megawatt dams further up the St. Paul. So in this way, they are doing some improvement, and but there's still some areas where what people will really notice is if the economy is growing. You have job creation, you have visible reductions in corruption, you have greater transparency in government decisions, and then the reliability of the electricity and affordability too. People can hardly afford some of this. So yes, there is some progress, but we're still not there yet. But we can give them credit for that much.
Is the opposition doing a better job? Is the opposition providing alternatives?
The opposition is not talking as much as, I mean, I think if you're going to have a formidable opposition, you have to be very visible. You have to point out the things that you know they're doing and not. I don't see the opposition looking very strong at this time. I think they're splintered. They're broken up. CDC, which is the largest opposition group, I think it appears that they have some leadership issues. Because I don't see there's talks of we are not running again. I think for the sake of the party, they need to get their leadership established. Who is going to lead the party next? I think the sooner they do that, the more profound they will be. But we saw what happened with Biden when he got out of the race at the last minute. That cripples the party. So if he's not going to run, or if he is going to run, the sooner he lets everybody know and they get a leader, I think that's when they will be making better headway.
Thank you. Pastor Salif, areas this government is doing well, and opposition accountability. Is the opposition playing its role?
Muted.
I don't think the opposition is playing its role. And the reason they're doing talking, but they're not playing their role. The opposition's role is to hold the administration's feet to the fire, to force them to do those things that they promised during the campaign time, to improve the quality of life of the people. That's not what the opposition is distracted. The opposition is there trying to compare oranges and apple. The oppositions are just criticizing. You know, it's not about being in the opposition. It's not just about being critical or having protests and all those things. The real job of the opposition is to force the administration to make good on their promises. That's what you do as opposition. You know, force them, expose their ills. But all you hear today is, oh no, when they say Security Council, oh, what we are started it first, and you know, it's always the reaction and the JMB failed. You know, this one happened. Oh no, it's we that did it first. Oh no, it's this one that started. That's all we see the opposition doing. They're not really doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. At time of, I was looking at some of the KPIs.
So do we even have opposition?
No, we don't. We don't have a structure, foundational structure opposition that is collaborative by bringing other people, you know, to the table. Like under we are, you have people like Henry Costa leading the how they call their group. They used to, you know,
You have COP.
COP and all those people that were bringing all the parts together. Opposition should be on the air. They should be discussing the issues. Opposition should be creating opportunities and exposing the missteps of this administration and forcing them to go to, you know, the arrest agenda and doing some of these things. That's how people, you know you're doing opposition, you know. But all we see right now is just the seditions that want we have to come back. If they say this one happened, they say, "Oh, we did it first. This one happened." No, that's all we see. So that's not that is not a qualitative leadership. But when it comes to performance, I'm looking at, and some of the things I'm looking at, I'm like, wow, are these things really happening? You know, because I'm looking at, you know, the Liberian Post.com. I'm looking at the New Dawn Liberia. I'm looking at all the KPIs of the Abuaka administration. They're too long to go through, but they're saying that things are happening under control of corruption. You know, scorecard 0.09 above the media. Talk about government accountability. They say it's about 73%, reflecting improvement in private public sector security. Talk about freedom of information. I'm saying 98% according to the New Dawn. Personal freedom, property rights, women in economy, you know, all sustained passing scores according to the New Dawn. And you go to the Liberian Post. They talk about legislative progress, fast-tracking bills such as Presidential Transition Act, Civil Service Commission, Mineral Development Agreement, amendments, and, you know, new laws for Natural Planning Commission, National Road Authority, Universal Health Insurance, and Specialized Property. They're grading them well. Anti-corruption reforms, you know, 4 amendments to anti-corruption laws, including, you know, criminalizing illicit enrichment and improving statutes of limitations on corruption, according to the, you know, Liberian Liberation. Then you come to the economy. They say the GDP will grow 5.1% in 2025, you know, exceeding projections and outperforming the previous year. Exports, they say, is up by 31%, according to the Liberian Post.com. Inflation, they say, it fell to 4%, the lowest in over 2 decades, according to the Liberian Post.com. International reserves, they said, it reached 578 million, according to the Liberian Liberation Post. Domestic revenue, they say, it was 887.7 million, the highest ever recorded, according to the Liberian Post.com. Market competitiveness, they say, is 60% in the MCC scorecard, indicating improving trade and investment climate, according to the New Dawn Liberia. You know, and then property and land rights, they give that 67%, reflecting progress in land governance. According to the New Dawn, and of course, then they talk about sectorial and social indicators, KPIs, natural resource protection, still a challenge, but child health and girls' primary education, persistent gaps still exist with increased, budgetary focus on human capital. But then finally, you get to the international engagement. They talk about foreign policy reset, re-engagement with the U.S., France, Monaco, Japan, and election to UN Security Council. They talk about that in the analyst Liberian online.com, and of course, gender responsive feminist foreign policies. First African country to institutionalize such a framework, according to the analyst online.com. So when you look at those KPIs, you want to think, okay, there are some good things there, but then you have to come now. Those are the record that I just read, but then you now come to public perception, because public perception will always trump these things. What are the ordinary people feeling? If you went to the street, all these things I just read, can the ordinary people vouch like, yes, these things are happening? So we have to be able to look into the public perception. We have to look into the reality on the ground. These are the ones on paper. That's what, these guys came up with. So how does the country feel? How are the people faring economically? What are the social economic impact of these reports, these KPIs on the ordinary Liberian citizens? So those are the things we need to look at. But I think JMB government, I think they need to do better. They need to get more mature people in the administration who can handle things, who can handle communications properly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bertal?
Yeah, when it comes to where the government is doing very well, collecting MOUs, they are doing excellent in that area. But look, this is what I would say. Any government, this government, including any government that comes to power, some of the easiest steps that it's supposed to take is to take away all those benefits and those salaries, cut them. And then you look at the budget. Any government, nobody, what about stuff, the New Democrat, the other person, or Compact Card, or UN, or anybody, or the Chinese will release on behalf of Liberia because of what their benefits are from your resources. Anything they published. Look at your budget and look at what the few people in government are grabbing. Until those things, any serious government will have to reverse those things immediately. And then the funding will have to be taken and then invested into the country. Anthony, we can sit here and talk from now to Judgment Day. No country in this world progress and develop without industries. You cannot run in Liberia and stuff when they brought, what is the foreign minister's name? Not the foreign, but the finance minister. What is his name? Gafuan?
Yeah, Gafuan.
When they say he was coming back, I said here on the show like about a year ago, and man, they almost murdered me. I said the guy is useless. He's only coming back so that he can continue what he did on Ellen for the IMF and the World Bank. What he did made them to place him at the African Development Bank. The African Development Bank is an extension of the World Bank. But you see, we don't read the history. And that's a problem with us. We don't even study these institutions and the global issue and how they tie in. What he did when they sold Liberia on Ellen, him and Amar Kone, and then he came there, or him before Kone, and then he was rewarded. That was his reward, to place him at that place. I said he's not going to do, they say he's going to come there and straighten the economy, and I asked the question, how? All he's going to do is to take more loan. That is all that they are doing. So you must have industries. If you don't, because they said government cannot create no job, you have to have industries. And how do you have that? You have to either take control of most of your resources or some of it. That is not allowed. This is where we are stuck. So a serious government that can actually really move the country will go to Aslam Meta and say, look, you have the iron ore deal. We need to do 30-70. We need to build a plant here that melts some of this stuff, our value, create steel for some of the domestic market, ship some out, come to Firestone, come to Hummingbird, that is World Bank company, come to all these different areas. But we're not even thinking about that. We are coming to the US. Our president come there and say, we want for you to come to our country so you can take stock of our minerals. That's how you negotiate. So the country is not going anywhere, Brother Salif. Dr. Pearson, Jimmy, Anthony, me, any of us that here, we end up in that government. We're going to be corrupt. This is why the structure of the governing system that you see is corrupt. You are never going to end up there unless you are dirty and they have something on you. You can go and you can stand. You will never even be known because you are not going to get financed. You're not going to get funded to run. You see, anytime you see this guy, what is his name? ANC guy. Cummings. When you see Cummings rising to power, you will know that he has agreed for him to be corrupt. I'm just telling you, look, history repeats itself. We look at pattern. Like I come from the science area, I work with data and stuff. You have to look at the pattern. It doesn't change. The sun rises every morning and it goes down in the evening and then it rises. That's the pattern. Whether the sun is shining and you don't see it or not, it's happening. It is the same thing. The system is corrupt. We are talking about people getting justice. And I keep saying here, why are we using the system? There is no justice in the Western or Judeo, Greco-Judeo justice system they set up. You have to have money in order for you to get justice. So there is no justice for poor people. When Anthony, if somebody accuses you right now of something that you didn't do, you have to hire a lawyer. If you don't have a good lawyer where you have to sell everything you have, you'll be convicted. It's not the kind of system that we keep pushing when we point it out. People want to push this as if, what are we trying to do to ourselves? Let's look at the African justice system. Most of it, we grew up, man, in Liberia. We were grown men before we came here. Look at the African justice system. We're not talking about something being perfect, but you don't have to have money necessarily. Justice is actually available. Now we can say they can do some crooked thing, that's yes, but you actually have the ability for you to show up at trial. You don't have to go and sell all your houses. You can take that and we can study it. Dr. Pearson, you guys that are in the academic arena, just go and study those things. Look, there are a lot of books already written about the stuff in their blueprints. Let's look at how do we move this and elevate it to the national level. How can we refine it where it fit? In the African governing system, it's not a popularity context. That is why the governments are failing, because of popularity context. No, you are cultivated through the stuff, and then it's based on what you have done and proven in the community. That is how you are brought into position. Here you can just show up from eating sardine, dry rice, and you have some helicopters, some stuff. You just go there and you are elected. So when we're talking about opposition and ruling party, Anthony, they cannot do anything because they don't have a platform. What platform do they have on where they want to lead Liberia? It doesn't exist. Go and look at all of them, including Cummings. They cannot really articulate it, and because it's not under their control, they can't make that decision. Cummings or whoever can be as good and really decent when you come there, your hands are tied. The country is already bankrupt, then you come there in the first place. What happened? The country is so indebted, you have all this money that you have to pay back that was taken through you. How do you pay it back? Your hands are tied. You have to follow that line. So, following this form that we have here, there must be a disruption. There must be a serious disruption to pretty much dismantle. How it's going to happen, we don't know. We only have to be concerned about how far the outcome goes. But there have to be a complete disruption to uproot the system that we have, to reconstruct it. The Chinese were lucky that they were able to have an actual revolution where they ran the American, the British, and the French out, and they forced those nationalists on that island called Taiwan for them to have the space for them to reconstruct everything, to put something in place that worked for them. Until Africa can do that, we can sit here throughout. One government leave, it will be worse than the previous government that it replaced, because it goes towards entropy. In thermodynamics, it goes towards decay. That is how it's set. And that is the trajectory that we are on.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, you got the last word. Where is the government doing good? And do we have opposition holding the government feet to the fire and doing its part
Thank you, Anthony, and thanks to all my fellow panelists for tonight, and thanks to our viewers out there. It was a pleasure being on the show tonight. Look, let me start from the bottom up. I think when you say what the opposition is doing its job, it depends how you define opposition and what your expectation of opposition is. And I think the reason why some of you think that the opposition is not doing well today is because you come from seeing a period where we have a group of individuals who use lies to come to power. And what you are missing in the opposition today is the insults from Yeka Cordova. You are missing the insults from Prophet Key. You are missing the lies from Fadiga. You are missing the lies from Eugene Vagon. You are missing the lies from all of those guys who just get up and say anything that will manipulate the public to get to power. What you see now in opposition today is a much more mature and constructive approach to criticism. What we're doing, you are sitting right here answering. You saw that when Grace Bay went and took pensioners' money and took about almost $500,000 from pensioners' money, or $500,000. You saw the opposition respectfully disagree with that move during the transitional period. Even though some of us were on this very platform saying it was too early to start criticizing, leave the government alone, let the government sit down, give them time. And we said, no, the government has to be made to understand the misstep from the very beginning. We were also here when the government passes first 2024 budget after they rejected the CDC budget. And we critiqued that budget and said that budget did not represent a dramatic change and a projection of the arrest agenda I was proud for and argued by the rescue team. And again, we saw how they went to pivot to try to even correct it 2024. They failed, and we critique them. They even try to correct it 2025. They failed, we critique them. And everything was done positive to the point that 2026, they came up with a better projection for the future, even though it is still needing some correction. So you can see the shift in their planning within the national budget based upon our critique. We didn't even stop there. The president missed application of money for 285 yellow machines. You saw how we attacked that, and we saved the government of Liberia almost $60 million when it would have had spent $80 million on a machine that is just spent $22+ million on. We saved the country at least not something less than $60 million that have been corrupted from the country. So that's opposition play. You also saw that President Baka went as far as using public money to buy $1.2 million public vehicles when he could not even afford a Toyota Hilux pickup. President Baka had to give him some form of relief with those pickups. President Baka was rebuked for that. And now we saw him going after his own employees and saying, gentlemen, nobody go buy expensive vehicle as of now. He even carries support to Anti-Corruption Commission to make sure nobody walk in his own misstep that we try to correct. And we did not even stop there. We moved forward to tell President Baka, you cannot be building a $6 million to $10 million project in 4 years without proper accountability. And we pinned that the first time in the history of the Republic of Liberia. We pinned that in a letter to LCC and told them, go and get this thing looked into. And LCC has said they're going to look into it. That's responsible opposition. Last but not the least, Anthony, as I speak to you right now, it is clear that we are not going to remain silent. We are not going to be bobo opposition. We are not going to sit down there and allow the government to do and misplace Liberian people priorities with private jet that will rebuke, and then the president now telling people don't travel on private jet and cut down your expenses. So we are working. I agree with Pastor Salif. We cannot force the opposition to do what the other opposition parties to do what they don't want to do. We cannot change government and make them do what they don't want to do as well. But those of us, you, myself, Tao, Salif, and others who are on these different platforms across the different diaspora and in Liberia are holding this government feet to the fire. We will continue to do so until we see Liberia progress. And we want to say God bless Liberia and God bless the United States tonight in her victory over her first game in the World Cup.
They play already?
Now it's in the second, it's in halftime now, and the US leading.
I was trying to watch that game and I thought it was tomorrow. Wow.
That's why I cut it short for quick. That's why I cut it short.
Yeah, but Clarence, the game not finished. Gina,
It's
over here,
halftime
you
now.
already pronouncing victory. You won't be like Trump.
I just being
3-0.
prophetic. I just being prophetic.
Oh,
Hey,
prophecy can bring trouble, so you must be careful with your prophecy.
yeah,
Well,
I
folks,
did.
in cyberspace, this is how we're going to come to the end of today's Friday night debate. This is how we will come to the end of today's Friday night debate. And gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough. What you have heard this evening is precisely what this platform was built for: honest, informed, and fearless conversation about Liberia, its leadership, and its future. To our panelists, thank you for your candor, your preparation, and your commitment to this country. To our audience across Liberia and around the world, thank you for watching, for sharing, and for staying engaged. A pastor prophecy has become a diplomatic incident. A US 19 million cocaine boss sits in investigation limbo. The government tries to make the case that progress is real, and an opposition that calls itself the alternative has yet to prove it can be won. These are not small questions. These are the questions that define whether Liberia is moving forward or standing still. The people are watching, the people are counting, and today the people have spoken. I'm answering. This is Focus on Liberia. We'll continue to watch, we'll continue to question, we'll continue to report with our fear and with our favor. We want to say thank you again for staying with us. We will close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.
We are Liberians.